Please could you describe what StopSO is about and introduce it to us all, please?
Of course. StopSO is a charity that works in the field of child sexual offending. We provide specialist therapy for anybody that's affected by child sex abuse. The primary work within that for our charity is working with perpetrators and those that have inappropriate sexual thoughts. So that, if you like, is our core work. But we do, of course, work with survivors, with family members, both family members of perpetrators and also of survivors. We receive referrals, mostly self-referrals, but not exclusively so, from people wanting this therapy. And then we make sure that those referrals are matched up with an appropriate therapist. We train therapists to work specifically in this area. It's a tailored piece of training. They need to come to us already fully baked as therapists, if you like, before they undertake this training. And then we maintain standards in terms of professional interest, nuance, whatever's going on. We offer training to make sure that therapists are up to speed on what's going on. It's a constantly changing field of work, as I'm sure you are aware. And we need to make sure that our therapists are aware of all nuances and all changes going forward, both in terms of what's going on out there, in terms of this awful situation of child abuse, but also in terms of, if you like, the law, the expectations of courts, etc., etc. So it's we offer a very broad support and training package for that purpose. We are nationwide, and there's not many parts of the country we don't have a presence in now, of the UK. I have just over 160 therapists, fully trained, good to go. So we're not insignificant. We are managed by an absolutely fabulous group of trustees, which I have the absolute pleasure and honour to be the chair of. So that's 8 trustees, and we all work voluntarily for the charity to meet those needs and those requirements, really, to offer this work. We have 2 paid members of staff which sit in the admin part of all of that to keep the wheels on the bus going round and round, if you like.
Of course.
The point of StopSO, what is the point? Well, in 2012, when it was kicked off, there was no work with perpetrators at all. And this was a big omission, really, in the whole system. Nobody was working with perpetrators at all. And so the idea of prevention really wasn't spoken of and wasn't a thing as such. And so it met that need. Obviously, since then we have grown, and we are looking towards the more preventative model now. It would be absolutely marvellous to go out of business because we have no work. That would be a pretty big win, I think.
Of course.
I suspect this won't be happening, but anytime soon. But there's no harm in the dream. But when we work with people who have committed sexual harms, and they have obviously, usually, mostly committed the first offence, which is why they come to us. But going forward, preventing any further offending is vital. If you think about online offending and people in just say a 20-minute period, they watch porn, they then are looking at illegal stuff, more extreme stuff, and it's click, 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 click. Every click is a crime scene. Every click has a victim, and most of those victims are children. So when somebody is in therapy, and when I work as a therapist and I say, I would like you during the period of time you are in therapy not to be accessing any form of pornography, and we discuss that, and it's all about staying safe, etc., etc. Every day that they're not doing that for 20 minutes is an awful lot of victims they're not re-victimising.
Right.
That is a win. We'll have that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the basis on which we're working. What we know is that what we're doing, not the charity, we're doing all that, but what we're doing politically, what we're doing as a society isn't working. So the figures are escalating, as you saw from the conference. The figures are horrendous. Millions of children a year are being victimised and abused. So what we're doing isn't working. We need to do something else.
And what is it that we are doing?
Well, what we're doing is punishing. We are othering. So those are those people that commit those offences. They are monsters. They are nasty. They are all of these things. You know, you see the headlines. It's all the media go to town on this sort of stuff. And I understand that. And I understand the visceral need to punish for committing the most abhorrent crime we could possibly think of. I get all of that. However, it's very short-sighted. The punishment will end. The prison sentence will end. The suspended sentence will come to an end. The registration, the StopSO, all of that will come to an end. Now what? What have you done to put in there the notion of therapy, the notion of desistance in any real terms? Not a lot usually.
Okay.
And so it is that's the need we meet. Also, these are people who are not, very, very rarely are they, if ever, do they live in isolation of other humans. So they have partners, they have parents, they have siblings, they have children. And when we punish, we also fracture all of those relationships. Now, I understand he should have thought of that. Absolutely, he should have thought of that. But he didn't. So should we think about it now?
Right. Okay.
Should we think about those relationships and how to heal those relationships, how to manage those relationships, how to cope with the fallout of all of that, which is why we work so very much with partners, for example, because they have to manage that. Now, you know, a partner may never want to see him ever again, but if she's got children with him, you've got to look to the interests of the children. And what we know, and this sits in Rachel Armitage's work with secondary harms. Thank you, Rachel. The impact that the knock has, yes, on him, got it, but he knows what the knock's about. The partner, the children, do not.
Right.
So the bomb goes off in that house, really. What are we going to do about that? What are we going to do about those people? Those people are also victims.
Agreed.
So it is about offering them support, but it's also offering him support because he needs to be better at managing all of those relationships going forward, which you know, have just been blown apart. He doesn't stop being their father.
Right.
And so navigating that situation, offering support, offering guidance, looking, of course, not just to all of that going forward, but to what was this all about? Why have you ended up looking at children being sexually abused? What is it that has gone on in your head that has made that a passage? You've landed on that.
Yeah.
Why? Now, why is a really difficult question. So, you know, in any field of work, if you say why to somebody in kind of, you hit a brick wall, because if they knew why, they A, wouldn't be talking to you, and B, wouldn't be in that space in any way. So why isn't the most helpful? So we do offer some training which looks at the how. It's a forensic analysis of the how. If you dig into the how, you will find your why. Okay. If you widen it out, how did you end up there? What were you doing? What were you searching for? What was going on in, there's a very big theme of porn use, of quite excessive porn use that means men often, will end up in this area. Well, what's that all about? What's going on? What are you not doing if you're spending 2 hours a day? And how are you lying to cover up what you are doing?
Right.
Because the whole families don't know that's what you're doing. So all of this needs to be unpicked and worked on and understood. Now, within that, of course, you've also got a big theme that was spoken about at conference by Duncan Craig about the duality of the abused becoming abusers. Now, if ever there was a space for therapy, there it is. There's a lot of charities that won't work with survivors if they are also perpetrators.
Right.
That's a very, very common theme. I have my thoughts on that. It's not my favourite thing, shall I say. Okay. Don't get it. Obviously we do. I can't imagine why we wouldn't. So StopSO therapists are there to do all of that work. It's the beginning to the future, if you like, of that work. So if somebody has been abused, that may or may not be the seat of their own abuse, then, they're abusing, if you like, going forward. But we need to know it, we need to understand it, and he needs to have some understanding of the impact of all of that and how he sees things going forward. This is really complicated, really delicate work. I know, before you ask, I'm sure you wouldn't, but just in case, we're not looking for excuses. Right. And we're not, absolutely, let me be clear, we are not looking for blame. If anybody comes into my therapy room and thinks they can blame their terrible childhood, they will know that this is not an acceptable position.
Okay.
Don't like blame, no need for it, it's not helpful.
Okay.
What is helpful is let's work out a framework of understanding. So the person has been abused. That's in your framework of understanding. What was that abuse about? That's dig into that. That's try and understand that. That's understand the meaning that gave you, about the world, about relationships, about sex. That's work out what that was about. Now let's work out what you've done with it.
Okay.
Right? And that's work out your responsibility going forward as to what you're going to do with it. Because if you're going to feed it back into abuse, that's not okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're not looking for blame. So sometimes, people say terrible things about the work we do, and they call us all sorts of beautiful things like, pedo hugger. It's probably my favourite. I know. Bless, it's not even inventive. But anyway, there you go. If I'm going to be insulted, I like some creativity. So, yeah, but that's not what we're doing. We are looking for a framework of understanding. With understanding, there is power, there is knowledge, and there is change. Change is the ultimate process of therapy. Whatever it is I've been doing, I want to not be doing it. Yes.
And from a logical process point of view, what you're saying makes sense. The large majority of society will feel a knee-jerk reaction to the words understanding, helping, working with, therapeutic processes for these types of people, because one of the first things I know people will say is, but you can't change them. There's no cure. You're wasting your time. I am confident you will have some kind of response to that, as to why that is not working towards prevention of child abuse in any way. And I would love for you to speak about that, please.
So Excuse me. So you were talking about society will have a problem with the use of the word understanding, helping, therapeutic intervention. They would have a problem with that because it is a punishment. And society wants to punish.
Sorry, I just need to stop you there. Those words are not a punishment. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, because they're not punishing, are they?
Yes,
they're nice. They're soft.
Yes.
They are. The difference between what have you done? What have you done? You say that to a child. What have you done? The child bogs back and goes,
right.
What have I done? Absolutely. In this scenario, what happened to you? What happened to you? What's this about?
Who cares? I'm just playing devil's advocate. Who cares?
I tell you who cares. Survivors care. Survivors care. Because not that I'm saying, and please forgive me if I sound as if I'm talking for survivors. I wouldn't like you to think that.
Understood.
There is a thing, and also I do work with survivors.
Yes.
Do they want all perpetrators to be punished? Well, yes, but also they'd quite like them to stop perpetrating.
Right. Because you cannot punish for someone's entire life. That's a good point. You can't put people in prison for their whole life. Very rarely happens. They are released at some point from prison. Their whatever community service that they're serving finishes at one point. They return back to their original life. So you can't just punish someone for their entire life. So what I'm thinking as you're talking is we're going to punish them for a short amount of time, but what after?
Then what? And also, in terms of what the model you're talking about, Jeremy, means people go to prison and they have no access to children and they have no access to the internet. And so lovely, they're all safe. So they're in there for like 3 months, 6 months. Point of that is what? The point is it gives society the feeling that we've punished you, we've told you off, we've put you on the naughty, do you know what I mean? It's all, we've given you, I saw somebody this very morning, who said, the terror of prison stays with me, the terror. The terror. Would that stop him from doing it again? No.
Right, okay.
Would coming to see me stop him from doing that again? Yes. Coincidentally, I had that conversation this very morning with this guy. Why would one work in terms of prevention and one wouldn't? Because one is about trying to understand and get hold of it and help it not happen. Whereas one's saying, you did that, punishment. As I said, I'm not saying we shouldn't punish. It's just when we only punish and then leave people in punishment.
Yes.
Because whatever need, emotional need, whatever, looking at this sort of stuff or doing this sort of abuse, whatever need it met, the need's not gone away.
Understood.
Punished somebody for acting it out, but the need to do it is still there. We also know, here's a statistic for you. This is from the Lucy Faithful Foundation, our friends there. If you look at internet offending alone, the point at which most offenders would start to have very annoying, intrusive thoughts, it doesn't mean they'll do anything, but they are bothered by intrusive memories, intrusive thoughts, and a temptation to go back, 6.5 years after sentence.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so this is telling you something, isn't it? This is telling you something about you've been there. What makes you think you're not going to go back there? What have you done to put those structures in place, those emotional structures, those physical structures, the psychological structures to prevent a return to all of that? Right.
Which is, as a society, and is what we want. We want them not to return back to the crime that they have committed.
Yeah, we do want that. I'd also like them not to have gone there in the first place. That would be fab.
Of course.
We would like that. I don't lose sight of that agenda. I know it does sound surreal almost in this day and age, but I don't lose sight of all of that. But the idea, and what you said, Jeremy, earlier, is that society might say to me, you can't change them. Well, why do you think, I'd like to know why you think I can't change. Why do you think that? Where's that thought come from?
Yeah, it's a really good point, actually. Where has that idea come from, where you can't change them, they'll forever be like that. The best thing to do is line them up and shoot them. I get comments like that, and I know I will under this podcast too. Where has that come from? You can't change them. Well, I don't know. It's just come from the media, I suppose. The media and social media and the comment sections under these types of posts.
That's right.
But equally, we've got no evidence to back. Well, we've got no evidence to back that up. It's probably from people who have seen people reoffend and reoffend and reoffend, and they're the ones that are shouting about this. But then I'm thinking in my head, it's important not to think that every person that commits this offence will continue to reoffend for their whole life if there was intervention. Something that I think can be helpful for us is to begin thinking about, and this is a question for I'm asking you, do you think it's helpful for us as the general public to think of people who commit this offence on some kind of spectrum? One end of the spectrum being those that just don't care, they don't want intervention, they don't want any support, they will continue committing this crime until the day they die, no matter how many times they get caught, versus the other side of the spectrum, which is somebody who identifies they've got this issue in their head and they want to never commit the crime in the first place, and they want intervention, they just can't find any. So is that useful for us to understand that people who offend or are thinking about offending come on some kind of spectrum? Otherwise, we're always just going to think about what the media lead us to think about, which is the first end of the spectrum that I spoke about.
Absolutely. I think that is useful. I'd be cautious of the word spectrum because that has other connotations. But
okay.
yeah,
okay.
I get entirely what you're saying. There is some kind of line somewhere, and where are people? So the first your start off point, which people that you could say don't really think that there's anything wrong with this. They know society think there's something wrong with it, but they themselves are. And I know your listeners aren't going to like this idea, but it is true to say some people will find children sexually attractive.
Right.
There you go. Can't help you with that. It is a fact.
Yes.
So those people, but they don't think there's anything wrong with that. And they think, and then, off we go with that.
Yes.
Yet those people do exist. Those people are not the people that come to therapy.
Right.
Because why would they? Yeah.
Mm.
Why would they come to therapy? They have got their themselves sorted. Now, with those people, they will sit in a punishment. But on the whole, those people are, as I said, they're not who we see, and there's not that many.
Okay.
So if you like, your spectrum is thin on that end and pretty fat on the other end of people that say, I need some help, I don't want to be doing this again. And most of those people that I'm talking about, I accept I need some help and want some help people, at some point during their offending, absolutely nearly always, they've said to me, I wanted help a year ago, 2 years ago, a month ago, whenever. And I didn't know how. And it is that point I got back organisationally and think, oh, my God, why didn't you know about us?
Yeah.
Why didn't you know about us?
Yeah.
Are we not coming up on searches? All of that stuff. And we do know that's a real common theme. And often they will say, the best thing that happened to me is when the police came.
Wow.
And that is a very difficult thing for somebody to say, because they have to, in that statement, accept it made me stop, and I wanted to stop. So, okay, we made you stop. Good. We like that.
Yeah.
They also have to accept that they've caused damage to not only the victims and the survivors of child abuse, but they've caused damage to their families, of course.
Right.
But to come to the point where they know at least they have stopped doing that, at least they've stopped lying, at least they've come out of the shadows and gone, this is my problem and this is what I'm doing to address it. I'll have that every day.
Yes, and people are going to have such such problems with what we're discussing here. Not everybody, but lots of people will have such problems with what we're discussing here because it in some way forces you to open up yourself to understanding that these people, a section of these people are, well, they're all human beings, but a section of them would come forward if there was support widely available, would come forward if there was no stigma and taboo and they risk losing their job or being sent to the police, and would come forward if this was freely available. And that pushes us to understand, have some understanding, maybe even a little, I don't know if this word is too far out there, but a little empathy for certain people who have either committed a crime or are thinking about committing a crime. I don't know if we're ready for that discussion yet, but does it matter if we're ready for it or not? Because if our priority is to not have victims in the first place, this is the road we need to go down.
Exactly. Exactly that. We can't prevent it if we can't get hold of it. You've got to get hold of it, and it's grubby and it's messy and it's untidy and it's unsavoury, and we don't, as a society, we don't like it. So society, in inverted commas, obviously looks away from what it doesn't like.
Right.
So put them away. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
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 The other thing is, in terms of who these people are, in inverted commas, I really don't know the stats on this, and I don't know how anybody, so if anybody's out there who is into research, knock yourselves out. There are so many people arrested, so there's over 800 people arrested now on a monthly basis.
Wow.
Just don't think. And they're passaging. So 800 people, this is in the UK alone, of course. Right. So there can't be a road or a grove or a street or an avenue or a hill that hasn't got somebody, technically, if you look at, in terms of numbers, on the sex offenders register for child sex offenders. Wow. If you look at, just look at the numbers. So that's I can't do maths, but 800 plus.
Yeah.
Every month times 12 is a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So who do you think they are?
Yeah.
They're not this monster, that weirdo, that,
lonely 50-year-old man behind his computer screen.
Yeah. There might be, but on the whole, that's not who I see.
Yeah.
And granted, I see a section only of people who are able to afford therapy. Understood. I do understand that, and that weighs with me. If I ever got a grant, if anybody's out there has got some pennies, let me know. And I would offer therapy all over the flipping place. Yes. For people that come to us, but there isn't a free service at the moment. So what happens to those guys? What happens to them? That keeps me awake at night. It's not our lot that keep me awake. I'm happy with those. They're being dealt with. It's the ones that want and can't. Yes. And of course, once your police have come, blown your life apart, and you've lost your job because it's all been made public, and you've had to leave the family home for understandable reasons, and it's the management of risk. Of course, risk is a very big issue, and that's got to be managed, and that's what we do, and etc. We've got those structures in place. But once you've done that and you've lost your job, then you're less likely to have therapy, because who's going to pay for that then? Right, because you're now trying to sort out your family, financially take care of them as best you can, and also you've got to live elsewhere. You may have family members, or you may not. What happens then? You haven't got a job now. Right. What's happening with your mortgage, with your partner and your children? What's happened to that?
Yeah, and another knee-jerk reaction would be, well, who cares? That partner is better off without you, and your children definitely should never see you again. Now, I imagine, depending on the type of crime that has been committed, let's say viewing of images and videos online is going to be treated very differently to a contact criminal offence. So are we saying that any type of crime, when it comes to the sexualization of a child, that person should see prison, shouldn't see their children, shouldn't see their partner. Their partner's better off without them. They should just be taken out of that circle completely? Or do we need to think about this with and it's difficult because we don't actually want to like level these crimes against children. I don't think we want to do that anyway. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the police do. Can we also have a think about, or a discussion about, I'd like you to start talking a little bit about, well, we've discussed a lot about those coming to you who have committed a crime or they've been arrested by the police because they've committed the crime. There's also going to be lots of people possibly that come to you that haven't committed a crime yet or may never, but they want support with managing this. Now, something I've challenged my audience on social media with in the past is, what are we supposed to do with those people? They know that they have this thing in their head which is at the least against the rules, and they haven't got a clue what to do about it, and it is knocking at their door, tempting them every time they go on the internet or every time they're in front of a child. So what do we do with those people? Because we can't lock people up and throw away the key for a crime that hasn't been committed yet.
Right.
So that falls over straight away, because lots of people will just throw out, well, if someone came forward with that, you know, XYZ. But then if we're going to be angry at people that have got something in their head and they've recognized it's in their head, they may be 19 years old. Like we're just always thinking about 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds. Yeah. Let's take a 19-year-old young man, and he recognizes that he is being tempted by looking at 12-year-old girls. Let's just take that as an example. Now, if that 19-year-old came forward for therapeutic intervention, we would be happy about that, I think, as a 19-year-old. We do not want him shot. We do not want him locked up and throw away the key. But also, if we did do those things, nobody would ever come forward. Like, we need to create a situation where they are coming forward. Okay. And just to finish my point, I think we just got to think about this a lot better, because if that 19-year-old was your son, and before I started mentioning that particular point, if you were someone who was like, they are disgusting, even if it's a 19-year-old and they've got this thing in their head, they repulse me, they're evil, lock them up. What happens if that's your son, or that's your brother, or
Okay.
Yeah.
You've made 3 points.
Okay.
I'll address all of them.
Please.
So the first one was about risk assessments.
Okay.
So is your contact offender your internet offender? Is the risk the same? No, those assessments need to be undertaken properly and sensibly, not on a knee jerk.
Interesting. Yeah.
Right. So, it's a complicated business. Therapeutically, there are very few rules and laws. Well, there's lots of ethical boundaries, of course, to being a therapist, and so there should be, but there's very little legislation, and one of them is you cannot risk assess in a pertinent way your own clients. Correct, as it should be. But we all kind of are very aware if there's anything we're not happy about, if there's anything in safeguarding we don't do, we have procedures coming out of our ears to manage that. And we've got support for those that need to do safeguarding. So that, just to say, that's an important thing you must be aware of. We are not saying that we don't need safeguards and everybody's fine as long as they're in therapy. They might be, but they may not be, but that's our job. We hold that tension. The thing about StopSO therapists, and the thing I take my hat off to them, is their willingness to hold the tension. Mm-hmm. Yeah? To balance that. What's the best thing to do here? The best for who? And in the centre of that, for us, is the child.
Right.
Now, so we've got all of that. I could talk to you further about this.
Yeah.
That's not, but we've got that. You also then moved on to the notion of somebody who has thoughts that thoughts aren't illegal. It's not in this country, as far as I know. Let me know. I've killed many a person in my thought processes. I won't be seeing you for a while. And you said, but it's against the rules. Okay, well, it isn't. It's thought. But that doesn't make it good. That makes it problematic. And people do come to us because they have thoughts that are uncomfortable, they're inappropriate, they know they're wrong, and they don't know what to do with them. And they will come to us. Now, they're the guys I praise to the hills, you know. Now, there's brave. There's brave. You haven't done anything, so I haven't got anything to disclose. I haven't got a safeguarding concern.
Okay.
Well, I'm obviously aware in terms of safeguarding and concerns, but they haven't done anything. What they've come to us because they have thoughts. It is about the management of thought. It's about the understanding and the management of, here we go again, risk. Okay, the risk of offending, the risk of causing harm, the risk. We have to hold that yet again. We have to hold that, and we do that with the client. The minute we think that the client's not doing that, then of course conversations need to be had. We need to understand the nature of that, and we will move on. But it is the case that most, in my experience in this work, when people have come and they've said, I have done nothing, and I've got no reason to believe they have, and they don't work in anything that's concerning in terms of with children, etc.
Okay.
Train of thought went there. Sorry, it's come back. There's many trains of thoughts going on.
No problem.
And they've nearly always said, so can you make it stop, please? Can you make me attracted to, you know, can you make me heterosexual?
Right.
No, I can't. I cannot change whatever I can't change what I find attractive.
Right.
I cannot change that. But if you know something's not okay, you need to manage it. Yeah. And, you know, people have been managing their attractions to their boss, to next wife, forever. It is manageable. It isn't.
Look. I immediately kind of laughed at that because that is a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
That we all understand. Yeah. I thought it was good. Yeah.
Thank you. Good. We got that going. Of course, what you have, if you have somebody that is actually, and I don't mean this in the insulting way, but is paedophilic, so their main and maybe even only attraction is children, then you've got to really manage it. But that's why they're in bloody therapy, because it is a difficult situation and position. But it can be done. And if you've got good therapy that can support you and can hold that frustration, that tension, that understanding, then you're there.
Yes.
It's managed. It's within that. So we've got that. The third thing you mentioned, Jeremy, was what if it's a 19-year-old? Okay, so here we go. You may wish I hadn't asked this. It came to my attention about just over a year ago that there is very little training for therapists to work therapeutically with under 18s who are displaying sexual harms.
Okay.
So StopSO have devised the programme. We're kicking off in January with the first pilot. We're training therapists to work therapeutically with under 18s who are displaying sexual harms.
Wow.
So it isn't a pure psychoeducational thing. Nothing wrong with psychoeducation, and we've got modicums of that in the programme, but it is about therapy. Why have we done that? Because we had just over 1,200 referrals last year. 20% are under 18.
Wow. Okay.
Right?
So let me just say that again. You had 1,200 referrals last year.
Just over, yeah.
Just over. 20% of under 18. Wow.
Okay.
And most people don't know about your service.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. That just puts things into perspective for us a little.
Yeah. So because of what's going on with the internet, and that's a whole new podcast, frankly, because of what's going on and how it's going on and the accessibility, it's younger and younger. So our demographic, your traditional, I think you colloquialised it into a 40, 50-year-old on its own in isolation. There you go. That lot, we still get those, but not much. It's gone younger.
Wow.
Okay, so you've got this sort of change of demographic, and I need my therapist to be good and ready to go, so they are good and ready to go.
Wow.
And that's new work. It's very exciting, and it's very sad that it's needed, but it is, so we're out there with it. Now, within that, if you've got a 19-year-old, of course, it's the same demographic. You don't change at your 18th birthday. You've never and so the training we offer isn't just for anybody working with 0 to 18-year-olds. It's also for people working 18 to 30-year-olds. It's the same stuff. It's the same approach. It's the same issues that we need to dig into and try and offer some very targeted support and help. Within all of this work, Jeremy, sorry to give you yet another theme, neurodiversity.
Okay.
Okay. So we've done a lot of work with people who work in this field and who specialise in neurodiversity within sexual offending. That's a very big issue. So many of our clients have either diagnosed or undiagnosed neurodiversities, and that's a real issue in terms of what's going on and how it's going on. So it's massive.
Yeah.
Also, increasingly with young people now who are in their late teens, their 20s, at a very important point of social development, sexual understanding, the great awakening thereof, all of that. We had COVID, fallout of COVID, and there's some mixed up thinking that's going on there. Now, we've got to manage this. As a society, we've got to manage it. The first instance, the school needs to manage it.
Okay.
The schools need to be working with us.
I agree.
We've got work. We've got work we can give you here. We're on it. Okay.
Yeah.
And all of this stuff that's happened.
But before you move on, we just need to just quickly stop on that point because it's too important, because there's lots of schools and teachers that follow me. Okay. So if anybody that's really, made them listen, what do you mean you should be working with schools? Can you just briefly talk to me about what that would be and what that would look like and why you believe it's necessary?
Okay. So in terms of offering a therapeutic intervention to a child, we are training therapists to work therapeutically with children who are displaying sexual harms. At the moment, what happens? You tell me. Schools have different ways of managing this. So somebody's got a picture, it could be a dick pic of himself or somebody else, or, all of this, and it goes around the school, and the schools get upset about all this quite rightly and understandably, and they see that also, by the way, it's an offence, so you need to know you've committed an offence. Is there something wrong with this lad? Is he a criminal? I don't think so. I don't think there's anything wrong with him, and neither do I think he's a criminal. Yeah. But if we look at his phones and there's sexualised pictures of his 6-year-old sister, then we do have an issue.
All right.
Right, we're there.
Understood. Great.
We're there for that work.
Yeah, great.
Okay. And I'm not saying that's the norm in any way, shape or form, but it might be. And if they've been watching pornography, right, there isn't a boundary. So I often tell this story. When I was a stoppy teenager, obviously, and I used to go off with me banners with the other women of the locality. This is second generation feminism. And we used to object to the dirty mags and the local newsagent.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
Really had a problem with that. Now, many, many decades after that, bring their mags back. I know they are back, but much more. Because there's a back page. Men do what they're doing in a regulated industry. Back page, jobs are good and put it away. Get on with life.
Okay.
Now, look at pornography online. There is no back page.
Right. Interesting.
So where do you fall? Where do you land? When do you stop? If you're 12, where are you supposed to stop? If you're 10.
Yeah.
So if you think that children have watched pornography by the age of 7, that's what the stats are telling us, and they're not talking about it, but they're doing that, we are failing them, and the schools are failing them. So schools, sorry, go on.
But I mean, I want to take the ages like a little bit higher than that too,
Yeah.
and talk about a year 11 group at an all boys school. For this example, they're all 15 and 16. They have, most of them have been watching pornography at some phase of their life. A lot of them would have been watching pornography for years.
Right.
You know, let's say they go through puberty, 12, 13 years old, get an
Yeah.
interest in it. It's now all accessible on their mobile phone. Back in the day when I was young, before the internet, you needed to search for that thing or get a video that someone else had, but you didn't have you weren't inundated with like a library catalog, enormous amounts at your fingertips. And they're at 15 and 16 years old. Again, they've been watching it for 2-3 years, and they've gone down various rabbit holes. And now there's a few of them in that year group who know that what they're watching has got out of control. And it could be violent, it could be degrading, it could be illegal. And they have got no one to go to, because all the lessons are about what happens if you are targeted by somebody who wants to exploit or abuse you, or you are the target of image sharing or another situation like that. But there's nothing in schools about if you are the person doing that image sharing, you are the person looking at that illegal imagery, come and speak to us. There's none of that. Now, this changes the whole conversation, because when people just heard what I just explained there, everyone will be like, why is there nothing in schools? I cannot believe we haven't thought about this. I agree to that. I'm signing on the petition. Let's get this into schools immediately. So we have that attitude, but for the first for the first half of our conversation, when we're talking about adults, it's a completely different attitude.
Yeah.
Should it be the same attitude? Are we missing something? Are we thinking about this incorrectly?
Well, should it be the same attitude? There just needs to be an attitude of prevention.
Yeah.
I don't care how old you are. I'd like you not to, please.
Yeah.
I'd like to protect the children. You're not, hopefully not going to offend against or victimize and all of this shit that goes on, So we need an attitude. We need an intervention. We need to get in there. Now, whether you're 50 or whether you're 15, you need work and you need help. There are differences. There are nuances. Of course there are. But that's why we've devised a program to, train therapists to look at those issues within. And of course, that will always be, as far as I'm concerned, an evolving, morphing project. It isn't you've been trained, this is what you always do, because it changes and the program will change with it, and there'll be maintenance of, training, etc., etc.
When did StopSO start?
2012, sorry.
2012. So it's been going 13 years. When did you join?
Flipping heck.
You've been with the organisation a long time.
Yeah, 2019, I think.
Okay, great. What are the goals and ambitions of StopSO?
Okay. Goals and ambitions of StopSO. We sit in the field of prevention. Okay.
As opposed to, where do you sit now?
No, that's where we sit now. But you see, the goal of that, you can say those words, just use the word prevention to shorten what I mean, as I think you understand. It's always been our goal, but it will always be our goal, because what we were preventing in 2012 looks very different to now. Okay. Although it's all child abuse, of course it is. But in terms of the internet, in terms of children being involved, in, the neurodiversity encompassing all of that work, things have changed, and they change a lot all the time. Access to the internet, what the internet does, the dark web. That. So there is a morphing and a changing. So that is our goal. Going forward, what do I want to achieve? I'd like to close this down because we have no work.
Of course.
Am I allowed to have that as a goal?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anyone in this field, that's their goal, isn't it?
Yeah, but in terms of
but like you know, we don't live in a world where I believe I think it should be our aim because we want to protect all children, but thinking about it realistically, that's never going to happen, right? You're always going to have criminals. So before that goal is ever realized,
yeah,
where are you trying to go with this?
I would like the ambition is to offer proper therapeutic intervention for those who have offended and for those who have been impacted by the offence of child abuse, to support them going forward in a way that victims are not living in their trauma and perpetrators have stopped creating victims.
Yes.
So it is about being realistic, that it is about no more. And in order to achieve that, you may need to look back, you may need to understand a whole raft of things about yourself and your background and blah, blah, blah. And we're there for that. We're there for that work. Good foundations, solid futures without this shit going on.
And do you think the media have a big part to play in shifting the way we approach this as people?
Yes, massive. I interviewed on a regular basis, and I spend quite some time being interviewed by the best of journalists that write the most beautiful and eloquent of articles. Love them. I use their wording. Sorry, tough. I never get printed because it gets stopped at editorship. At that point, the editors will stop. Because why? Because it might look as if the newspaper, whatever, the magazine, whatever it is in support of paedophilia.
Okay.
And whilst we got that attitude going, it's not exclusively so, of course. There have been some really wonderful articles over the years, but on the whole, I get interviewed for a lot, and mostly they're not published. The vast majority. And it is, you know, an effort and time has gone into that. You know, I'm not worried about mine, but, you know, journalists.
Yeah. And initially there was a purpose to contacting you, and there would have been something that drew them towards what you're doing at StopSO, but they've got to protect their brand and their business, and they know that lots of their consumers of their product will disagree because, in my opinion, they don't understand. I know that I will get some backlash for this conversation too. I will promote it on social media in the best way that I possibly can, laying out the discussion so that people don't, to prevent a knee-jerk reaction. But I know I'll get a knee-jerk reaction to it, and I'll get a lot of hate. But when we start reminding ourselves that children are the number one priority in this conversation, the surrounding families around that child are also up there in the priority: brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers. And if that is the case, then we cannot just continue talking about what you can do if you've been sexually abused, where you can go if you're struggling with a memory of sexual abuse, because it's all reactive. We don't want the victims in the first place. If StopSO had come to the attention of the man that sexually abused me when I was a child, and that gave him the idea to contact you and go through some kind of process so that he left me the hell alone, damn right I am in support of this.
Yeah. And if you knew that he wasn't going to be sexually abusing anybody else.
Of course, you know.
The power of it.
Yeah. I mean, one of my biggest worries has always been the fact that I couldn't get a secure prosecution against him or do anything with what the situation that happened and what he is doing now. Unsupported. Support is like, you know, help, support are two words people don't like. So let me rephrase that. He is now out there with no one monitoring him, working with him, intervening his behavior, helping him understand what he did, why he did it, and what happens if the temptation comes on strong again. No one's doing that work with him.
Exactly.
And that should keep us up at night.
Exactly. Because what society is doing isn't working.
Right.
But bits of work are fantastic. There are so many good projects and programs.
Yes. Yes.
Look at Ian's work. Look, you know, all of this, the work we do.
Yes.
But those kids that are being abused, that were abused, this continued.
Mm-hmm.
It's got worse. It's got bigger. It's got even more diverse and different.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So we need to think differently. And so when we sit in the sense of, I want to punish, I want you gone, that's my stuff. That's not the survivor stuff. You most eloquently, and I thank you for that, spoke on behalf of survivors to say, I want him safe. You didn't say I want him dead. You may have those feelings as well, but you can't have that. That framework. Okay. So you either have nothing, or you can have, I want him safe. I want his risk known and managed. And that's the space we sit in.
Brilliant. Okay. Please, can you tell people what the website is for StopSO?
If you Google in StopSO, you'll get the website.
Yeah, great. And I'm guessing social media platforms.
Yeah, we'll all
had a good look through the website this morning. Please go check that out, everybody. There's lots of information on there if you want to understand StopSO more. Another thing I want to bring people's attention to is the donate button on that website, because I read that page and understood that, well, I can only imagine how difficult it is to get any type of funding. You are a charity, you have charity status. And so if there is anybody that wants to help support the work that the therapists are doing with offenders, people who feel like they're going to offend, but also their families and also survivors of this crime, you're covering all bases. Please go help and support StopSO. Again, just Google StopSO abuse prevention and you will find the website. Please go read that. Please go interact with it. Please go follow this organization on social media. I have just recently attended their conference last week and it was absolutely excellent. There was a room full of people all aiming for change, and change is what we need. So I want to thank you hugely for coming on and speaking so brilliantly and bringing this information to our audience.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you for the opportunity to do so. The donate button, by the way, has got a facility on it because sometimes the people that go through therapy want to give back. And they can give us an amount which will fund somebody else to go through therapy that ordinarily wouldn't, because they have gained and want to share that.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your time, Jeremy.
Thank you.